It is playoff time in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and it is time for the SJHL preview show presented by UPL. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Jeromy Corrigan. We have a full 1 hour and a half show to get you set for the 2023 SJHL postseason presented by UPL. It is going to be a jam-packed show. Of course, it's going to be myself, Rory McGouran, Jamie Neugebauer. We're also going to be joined by Yorkton Terriers head coach and general manager Matt Hare to get his thoughts on some of the series which are taking place. I'm sure he would rather wish that he was in the postseason with his Yorkton Terriers. And we'll also be joined by David Hansen, president and CEO of Canterra Seeds, and we are going to reveal the Canterra Seeds Cup on this show of what it looks like. So lots to get into. So let's get right into it as we bring in Jamie Neugebauer. Jamie, how are you doing?
Great. You talk about Matty Hare wanting his team to be part of the playoffs. Wish my team was part of the playoffs. But that's okay. You know, it's going to be a great 6 weeks. You know, all these teams, the parity in this league, we talked about it all year. It's very real, Jeremy, and it's going to bear out in these playoffs. It's going to be wars on ice. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm not just saying that because I work for the league. I honestly think it's going to be a ton of fun.
And let's bring in our other co-host for SJHL Weekly, Rory McGouran. He's not here in person, unfortunately, but he's a busy man. He's a busy man being the marketing guy of the Humboldt Broncos as well. Rory, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show today to talk a little SJHL playoffs. How's it going with the cash for lottery in the Humboldt Broncos?
Yeah, guys, it's rocking here in the Elgar Peterson Arena. I'm already up in the press box here as I can't wait for playoff hockey. Get a camp overnight in the EPA press box. But yeah, thanks for that little plug there, Jeremy. The Humboldt Broncos Lottery of Cash is going on right now because the early bird deadline is today. And so if you want your tickets, you can buy them online at HumboldtBroncos.com. But yeah, there's a lot of excitement and buzz around the city, that's for sure.
Hopefully the organization got you a nice cot or something in the press box. So if you're staying overnight, you have a little, almost like a little suite in there.
It is a little chilly up here. I am just wearing, a T-shirt at the moment. So we got a sleeping bag down here, a little box heater, and we'll be all right. We'll be all right. It'll be rocking tomorrow, and this ice surface is going to get fired up with the Broncos and the Nipawin Hawks starting game 1 for sure.
It sure will be. We have a lot of great series in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League postseason presented by UPL, and it all kicks off tomorrow night. So let's get into the first series, and I want to start with the series that we've pretty much known for the longest, and that being the number 4 seed Melfort Mustangs taking on the number 5 seed LaRange Ice Wolves in the first round of the playoffs. If you look at these records against each other, oh my goodness, these two teams were competing for home ice down the stretch. Nugsy, a back and forth season series with LaRange getting the edge, and I think a lot of people around the league are talking about this being the series to watch in the first round of the playoffs.
And to that point, friend of the show, Dawson Smith, the number 1 goaltender for the LaRange Ice Wolves, we spoke to him not that long ago about this matchup because the LaRange Ice Wolves and Melfort Mustangs faced off 3 times in the last 7 games of the year, and they had a lot to play for over that time in terms of not, who they were going to face in the first round, but just simply which of these two teams would have home ice advantage. Now, that all being said, the interesting thing is we talk about home ice advantage with these two teams constantly, and for good reason. They're hard to beat at home. But the first 3 games of the series in the regular season went to the home game, but the last 3 went to the road team. So, you talk about home ice being important, but I don't know how much we can talk about home ice advantage right now, even though Melfort has it, and I'm sure they're happy to have it because you want Game 7 if it gets there in your barn. But both teams have done a great job on the road lately, especially those LaRange Ice Wolves.
And Rory, I'll come to you for this next question. When it comes to, we touched on Dawson Smith, but you have Joel Favreau on the other side. This might be the most premier goaltending matchup in the first round in the SJHL playoffs between Dawson Smith and Joel Favreau.
Yeah, 100% is right up there at the top. And we talked about Dawson Smith. Is he the best goaltender in the SJHL? It's 100% arguable. But now you see Joel Favreau. We were a little concerned about his numbers. The same with James Venn a couple weeks ago when we were on SJHL Weekly. But has he found his form in the perfect time? Reigning goaltender of the week in the SJHL, a shutout, a 2-0 record with a .947 save percentage over his last few games. So you know what, Dawson Smith, we know how good he is, but if Joel Favreau gets hot, that's arguably, again, one of the top goaltenders in the league when he's on his game. It's the only divisional series in the first round of the playoffs. So that's why everyone has that excitement circled on it, right? And then when you look a little deeper into the numbers, they have the most overtime games combined. They have the most one-goal games in the regular season combined, 25 for Larange, 24 for Melfort. So we know this is going to be close. Although when they've played each other in the regular season, only one of those games was a one-goal game. A lot of them were kind of lopsided. So you think it's going to go 7. You think home ice is so important, but just kind of the narratives that are dancing around, it's like it's going to be an interesting series between the Ice Wolves and the Melfort Mustangs.
And to your point, Rory, like again, we generate and we brought up these narratives about these two teams all year, which I think we work hard to be true about. But when they face each other for whatever reason, it seems like you throw a lot of them out the window. One of the points that I've loved the Melfort Mustangs penalty kill all year long. They have the second best penalty kill at the end of the year there behind Humboldt, but they struggled mightily against the Larange Ice Wolves this year when the Ice Wolves were on the power play. The Ice Wolves were 10 for 34 this year on the power play against Melfort, just in games against the Melfort Mustangs. I'm not good at math, but that's like 30%. 30%. And I'm sure Trevor Blevins is watching a lot of video and saying, hey, it's a new day. We got to throw all that out and be better. But the Larange Ice Wolves really found something that nobody else really in this league did on the Melfort Mustangs. PK. So we talk about the importance of special teams. It's huge because there's not going to be as many penalties, as many power plays. We don't think, anyways, in the playoffs. Knock on wood. But that's a very interesting stat. That kind of blew me away, I thought.
Well, and the one thing, like for me, when it comes to this series, I look at, you have the Melfort Mustangs blue line and how good it's been. You have the two goaltenders, and I look at how these two teams and the style that they play. And Rory, I'll ask you this: when you look at these two teams and how they play, it's very playoff-like with how hard they work. They have each a few top scorers, but nothing too crazy. But they all work, both teams work very hard. And we've seen it all year with the Larange Ice Wolves. They have not been shy when it comes to blocking shots.
No, not at all. And I'm really glad you brought up the style of play, because that's what's going to dictate who wins this series, is who plays their game, and the way that makes them so successful, the better. Because we've talked about the Melfort Mustangs, a little bit of an anomaly sometimes this series, a little bit up, a little bit down. It's because they fell away from their game, that smothering defensive jump in the rush, but also protect your own house kind of style of play. Larange, how many times did we have them at second in the power rankings? Then all of a sudden they're down in 6th. It's because they weren't in-your-face physical. So I think whatever team can dictate their style of play and do it early in the series is going to find that success. You look at the Melfort Mustangs, and when they get out front on you, they're impossible to beat. You think who scored the most first goals in the SJHL? Oh, it's got to be Battleford. It's got to be Humboldt. No, it's the Melfort Mustangs. 38 times they had the first goal of the game. Well, how about the Larange Ice Wolves on the other side? They have the second best goal differential in the third period. And they've only lost one game in regulation when taking a lead into the third period. So it just dictates their styles of play so well on who's going to get that upper hand. If it's going to be Melfort up front or Larange, and then they're going to hold on to that lead.
Yeah, and great points, Rory, about dictating your style of play. And you said it there, the way that these games start, every one of these games will tell you so much, because you said there, Melfort gets out quick in hockey games, and Larange, and you said they got a good goal differential in third periods. They have the best goals against in the third period. They give up 42 goals in third periods this year. 42. There's 56 games. That is unbelievable. That is better than Battleford. That's better than everybody. So, we have two teams that are very good at what they do, and that is why this series is going to be all. Like I said in my preview that I wrote yesterday, you can find it on my social media page and read it if you want. But I said this is as coin flippy as any coin flip that I've ever seen.
100%. I mean, you look at the season series, you look at just their standings, their stats. We saw it on the graphic that was popped up. They're very similar, and this is going to be a very close series. Before we wrap up this series and move on to the next one, we'll start with you, Rory. Who do you think could be X factors, difference makers for each of these teams in their first round matchup?
You know what? It's maybe a little cliche to pick these players, but it's the captains of both teams. It is Walker Jerome and it is Ben Tkachuk. You got to be the heart and soul. You got to be the engine. We talked about dictating your style of play is going to be the success in this series. Well, that starts with the guy who has the C on the jersey in the dressing room, getting them prepared. Those are the most important players in the X factor in the series for me.
Newsy?
Yeah, great call, Rory. I wanted to mention the two leaders. The two captains are unbelievable captains.
100%.
Walker Jerome, Benny Tkachuk. You won't find better captains. Like, you'll find as good, but nobody better than those two. So for Melfort, you talk about just Joel Favreau found his form at the end.
Right.
He's been up and down and unhealthy this year. So, for me, the X factor for Melfort is Joel Favreau. If he can keep this going, be the number one in net that they hope, don't have to rely on the young kid, James Venn, to come in and save the bacon. So for me, for Melfort, it is Joel Favreau in the sticks. And for L'Orange, I didn't pick a player. I went outside the box. I just said, keep that emotion in check. They are a team that is passionate, emotional. They play like their coach.
Right.
Stay on the line. Don't go over it. Melfort has a great power play too. And if they can just sort of walk on that line and infuriate Melfort as opposed to take penalties themselves, then L'Orange has a good chance. It should be a great series.
And Nugsy said it best. It is going to be a great series between the Melfort Mustangs and the L'Orange Ice Wolves. The series fires up tomorrow night at the Northern Lights Palace in Melfort. Games 1 and 2 will be held there this weekend. Then the series shifts to L'Orange for games 3 and 4 Tuesday and Wednesday. Should be a great first round series between the Mustangs and the L'Orange Ice Wolves. Let's move on to the next series involving the number 2 seed Humboldt Broncos and the number 7 seed Nipawin Hawks. Of course, the Humboldt Broncos had a great regular season. For the Nipawin Hawks, they surged in the second half of the year. These two teams met about a month ago and they split a home and home, but a excellent first round series between these two rivals. And obviously I got to start with Rory on this one. Rory, when it comes to this matchup, what are you most looking forward to?
I think people may see this being, a really favored Humboldt Broncos team in this series. Yeah, they were 3-1 against the Nipawin Hawks, but 3 out of those 4 games were 1-goal games. If you include a 4-2 empty net victory, which I know in Nugsy's column he did as well. So, you know what? Nipawin has been the most growth team throughout this season from start to finish. And we know how difficult it's going to be in the Centennial Arena. So I think they're playing with a way that if people are overlooking them, the Nipawin Hawks are really happy about that right now because they know the talent they have up and down. This might be the fastest paced series in the SJHL in the opening round. We know the offense. We know the shot totals. We know the forecheck, the aggressiveness of these two teams. That's what this is going to be. It is going to be fast paced, electric hockey at both the EPA and the cage, and I can't wait for it. But Nipawin Hawks go in it as underdogs, but, take them lightly and tread lightly if you were going to, because they're a strong opponent, and the Humboldt Broncos are going to be on their game to win 4.
And to your point, again, giving the Nipawin Hawks a lot of credit this year. Usually in the SJHL you see a big divide between home and away records.
Right.
Nipawin is just a little bit above 500 at home and just right at 500 on the road. They have been so consistent. And Rory, I want to throw a question right back to you, if that's okay. Watching the Nipawin Hawks at Humboldt this year, both those games were 1-goal games. There aren't too many teams that have gone into the Elgar Peterson Arena this year and played as well as the Nipawin Hawks. Would you agree that they have been one of the better teams to come in there and really push the Bronx?
Yeah, they've been absolutely fantastic when they're on the road in the Elgar Peterson Arena, right? And I just think it's the way these two teams play are very similar up front. Does the Broncos have maybe a little bit more depth on the back end? Probably a little bit more experience as well, right? But it's just a lot of high octane speed and transition game through the neutral zone. It's really fun to watch. But Nipawin, when they come in here, they just seem to hang around games, which, when the Broncos, they have the second best goal differential in the first 40 minutes of the game. They don't give up leads really rarely in the first or second period. So when they get up on you, they usually stay up on you. But the Hawks have just been able to kind of hang around, be a thorn in the side, and then, make these games closer than people expected when they buy their tickets. But they've been great, 100%.
Yeah. One thing we've talked about with this Nipawin Hawks hockey club all season long has been how young they are, and we've seen them grow throughout the season, and you usually see that with young hockey teams. They start off slow, and usually the second half of the season they come on. I'll throw this question to you, Nugsy, to start. Do you think with them being young and not too much playoff experience that might hinder them in this first round matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily see Humboldt as that much older. Like, I honestly don't. Like, Scott Barney trusts his 06s. Like, he trusts, Karsten Cater and Matthew Van Blaricom implicitly. And, Tad Kozin trusts, like, some of his younger guys, too. So, like, I agree that Nipawin does have some youth. And I agree that Humboldt has plenty of youth, too, that have played great and very mature, this year. And I look at the biggest question mark for me, in that regard is, both teams have goaltenders that neither one are the number one goaltender. Both of them have an 03 goalie that is kind of, a little unproven in this league, we'll say, with Jared Picklick coming in and Jackson Fellner, coming back, we'll say, to prominence in this league. And then Damon Cunningham is a young kid from BC for Nipawin. And then Ben Motu, who's been pretty consistent all year for Humboldt. I think the biggest question mark is we don't know who to pick in net, who gets the edge there. But, other than that, I don't know if the experience thing is that big of a deal, just because the way that this Nipawin team plays as well. Like, they're the ones that, when they're playing well, they're the ones exerting the pressure, all over the ice with their team speed. As Rory was saying, though, which is a fair point, Rory, our Humboldt part of me is a heavier team, and they'll try to take advantage that way when you talk about the youth.
I just want to quickly expand on the goaltending point where you touched on, some potentially inexperienced goaltenders, for especially when it comes to the playoffs. Well, that can be a theme for this entire postseason for the most part, because the only goaltender that's in the SJHL playoffs this year that's actually started a game in the playoffs is Joel Favreau. Yeah. And the only other goalie that has any playoff experience aside from him in the SJHL is Cam Herdlicka, both in relief appearances. Rory, just get your thoughts on this goaltending matchup between the Humboldt Broncos and the Nipawin Hawks.
Yeah, that's actually wild. I didn't dig into that there's only one goaltender with SJHL playoff start experience, which is crazy to think when there's, 32 goaltenders or something, if my math is correct. But yeah, none of these guys have played playoff hockey in the SJHL. No, all four of them. So we really don't know how long the leash is going to be for a goaltender. Fellner lets in a couple. Does Cunningham come in, first period, right, to shake it up? Right. I really don't know, but it's a series when you have that much uncertainty. Also lies the importance that a goaltender can steal a series if he decides to shine, because we just don't know what's going to happen in the net for either team.
Yeah. One of the things, to your point there, Rory, one of the things that I really looked at in this series, because I think it's so tight, because you throw out the 11-4 game early in the year when Humboldt came into Nipawin and blew the doors off. It was a coin flip like the other three games. Like, it really was tight. And when the games are tight, when situations are tense, they look at special teams. That's a wash, 21% each, in games against each other. You look at the goaltending situation. I think both have varying degrees of confidence in those. Any four of those guys can come in and do a job for you. So then I look at real smaller details, smaller situational details, and the Humboldt Broncos have three centermen that are over 55% on the face-off dot this year. You think about Ethan Zilke, he's 58% on the dot this year. Like, that is crazy. He's one of the higher sort of scouting index type players in terms of all the little details he does, all over the ice. So Scott Barney has to feel great, in a situation where the Broncos really need the puck. They need to, win a face-off. You look at the Nipawin numbers, Visser is around 53%. Carson Dobson's around 52%. So, those 5-6% on the dot is such a big thing. Obviously, Lucas Ceccarelli can go in and win a face-off whenever you need him to. Xavier Roy, he looked pretty good in that game against Notre Dame. That last game of the year there. But other than that, so those little situational details are things that I still kind of give Humboldt the edge in. But otherwise, yeah, I think it should be really close.
All right, let's move into X factors for this series. We started with Rory last time, so we'll start with you this time, Nugsy.
Yeah, so for Humboldt, and again, I don't have information on his health. I wish I did, but I think Sam Marburg is made for playoff hockey. He only had 25 points in 48 games this year, but when he's healthy, he's big, he can skate, he'll grind you down, especially late in a playoff series. You have to pay close attention to Cage Newens and to Alex Soretsky and all these guys, to Tim Kim. Like, you need to watch them so close. Then when Sam Marburg comes over the bench, you're like, oh man, I have to deal with this guy now. So for me, it's Sam Marburg. And then, for Nipawin, the pace of the game is going to be higher. Mm-hmm. Again, the Nipawin team is a good skating team, but Carson Dobson skates like few other guys in this league. He's a big, strong kid too. It's his last kick at the can. Again, so the speed game is going to be big for both teams. And Carson Dobson and Sam Marburg are as fast as anybody and as powerful as anybody in this series. So I'm going to go with those two.
Rory, how about you?
Yeah, I really like the Sam Marburg pick, Nugsy. I'm kind of going to go in a similar style. I'm going to say Chase Lacombe for the Humboldt Broncos. We talked about these guys both having really 4 lines of offense. The goaltenders maybe be a wash this year. But the Broncos saw how Flin Flon played in the playoffs last year. It was not even possible to get a secondary opportunity based off of how they protected the house. Chase Lacombe is a big, mature, strong defenseman. He has to be mean. He has to be intimidating. He cannot let people in the house. He has to wear them down against the boards. That's the kind of defenseman that's going to be out there, in desperation moments when you can't let a goal in. And Chase Lacombe's going to be my X factor for the Humboldt Broncos. You got to play mean. You got to play playoff-style hockey, and I do expect that to come from him. And then for the Nipawin Hawks side, McGuire, Ratzlav, and Xander Stewart, again, obvious choice, right? The only reason I'm going to pick them is because they got both hurt in the Humboldt Broncos series about 50 games into the season, right? And they came back and played 1 game. So I don't really know the extent if they're still a little labored, but if they're not at 100%, it's a keen loss for the Nipawin Hawks. Those are 2 really big pieces. So I hope that they are at 100% so that we get the best series possible. Those 2 are going to have to be the best players on the ice for the Nipawin Hawks.
Yeah, I think regardless, any series, we want to see all 8 teams healthy when it comes to the postseason, so we get the best hockey possible. And like Rory mentioned, this is going to be a fast-paced series, much different than the Melfort-L'Orange series we talked about earlier. But this series between Humboldt and Nipawin kicks off tomorrow night in Humboldt at the Elgar Peterson Arena for Game 1. Game 2 will then be Saturday nights before the series shifts to Nipawin for Games 3 and 4 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Rory, before we let you go to get back to the Cash for Lottery, I want to quickly get your thoughts on the other 2 series between the Balford North Stars and the Weyburn Red Wings and the Flin Flon Bombers and the Estevan Bruins. Just your thoughts on those 2 series quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be a tall order for the Weyburn Red Wings, but nothing's impossible in this league, right? Everyone's riding off Weyburn with what Battleford's did. But don't give up on yourself. If you could steal one of these first 2 games, huge, right? Get 100%. In the minds of Battlefords. That's what you got to do. Try to throw them off their game. And then who doesn't want the rematch of the SJHL finals? They're already logging the bus miles right now, or the Estevan Bruins traveling up to Flin Flon. So I can't wait for that. Do we go predictions on this show or no?
You can predict whatever you'd like, Rory.
Newsy, are you going to predict? Or are you going to predict later?
Newsy, you want to make some predictions on the first 2 series?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, go all 4. Go all 4 so I can hear what Nugsy says.
Okay. You want Nugsy to go first? Nugsy's got to.
You can hang off on the other 2.
Nugsy's got to save his other 2 for the next block.
Right.
So you'd say, what are your predictions for Melfort-L'Orange and Humboldt-Nipawin, Nugsy?
Yeah. So, and again, anytime I doubt L'Orange, it blows me in the face. Sorry, Melfort. I'm going with L'Orange in 7. just the way they're coming into the playoffs. So I'm going to go with L'Orange. And I just think Humboldt's a little too heavy and a little bit too deep for Nippo, and I think it's going to be Humboldt in 6. So I got L'Orange in 7, Humboldt in 6.
Rory?
Yeah, I was wanting a little bit of an argument segment, but I can't. I do have the same picks. I have Humboldt in 5, and I have L'Orange in 7 as well. I think the Ice Wolves get it done on the road in Melfort there in Game 7. But so sorry, Nugsy, we can't argue this time, and hope you guys have a great rest of the show. Thanks again for the plug on the Humboldt Broncos Lottery of Cash. Early bird deadline at 7 p.m., HumboldtBroncos.com.
There you go. I was just going to say, plug it one more time, but you just did, so that's great. Get your tickets now for the Cash for Lottery. Rory, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in Humboldt tomorrow night.
Always a pleasure, guys.
That is the play-by-play voice of the Humboldt Broncos, Rory McGouran. Get his thoughts on the opening round of the SJHL playoffs presented by UPL. We've been chatting for quite some time, so let's take a quick break. And after the break, we will preview the other 2 series between the Balfour North Stars and the Weyburn Red Wings, and the Flin Flon Bombers and the Estevan Bruins. This is the SJHL Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL across the SJHL social media platforms.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Yeah, give me more.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for 25, 3 for 60, or 10 for 100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Hey boys, we got a new guy coming out for practice today. This is Colin. Please give him a warm welcome.
Hey guys.
There's your gear. Get all suited up for practice and we'll get ready to go.
Does this go in or out?
It goes in, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the front.
Yeah, there you go.
This feels a little bit small.
It's a player chest protector.
This is a player chest protector. So clearly it's important that I got the right equipment on
Yeah.
to do this particular job.
Yeah, no doubt. Otherwise, bad things can happen. You can get hurt.
Well, you guys are going to show me how to do this right?
Of course.
Hey, is that natural?
There you go, yeah. Looks good.
We're all stretched out. This is a lot like mentally preparing at the workplace and being physically ready.
New guy, you're in. Keep your stick down, Colin.
We'll keep that down and deflect them away.
Good job, Colin.
Training like this, just when you start off, is super difficult, but if you keep on it, it gets easier and you get better.
The right training, the right advice, the right support, get the right equipment, your career is going to be a whole lot longer, whether it be here or on the construction site.
Welcome back to the SJHL Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's Jamie Neugebauer, Jeromy Corrigan, a jam-packed episode or special for the SJHL Playoff Preview Show. Big shout out to our sponsors for this SJHL Playoff Preview Show. Of course, it is presented by UPL, but we also have to give a big shout out to Canterra Seeds, Sask Milk, Chevrolet, Viterra, and Federated Co-op. Thank you so much for your support for this special edition show, hour and a half long of coverage. And now we're going to head back to the video chat line, Nugsy, and we're pleased to be joined by our special guest, head coach and general manager of the Yorkton Terriers, Matt Hare. Matt, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today. We really appreciate it. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
No, we really appreciate it. We are excited to have, we're really excited to have you on because this is definitely a different angle when it comes to breaking down playoff matchups than we've ever had, obviously, on our show, to have a coach's angle. So we really appreciate your time for hopping on. Let's get right into the first matchup. We'll talk about the number 1 seeded Balfour North Stars taking on the 8th seeded Weyburn Red Wings. Of course, this series will start on Friday, but we'll switch to the stats graphic. But this is obviously the largest discrepancy when it comes to points in the SJHL postseason. Of course, the number 1 seed Balfour North Stars have been the number 1 seed for all season long. They've been very impressive throughout the year, and the Weyburn Red Wings had a strong second half to the season. And of course, they got the 8th seed over the Notre Dame Hounds. Sorry, Nugsy. But it should be an interesting matchup between these two teams because you have a lot of high scorers on both of these teams. Matt, I'll ask you this as obviously a coach in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. You went up against the Balfour North Stars numerous times this year. How difficult is it to match up against a team like the Balfour North Stars who has weapon after weapon after weapon up front, it seems like?
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, we played them as much as we played Weyburn this season. So, they have Kean Bell, Holden Dole, Jake Southgate. The list goes on for their talent up front, and obviously, when you have a 50 goal scorer like Kean Bell, it's hard to manage. And there's a couple games where it was a 1-goal game for kind of 40 minutes of the game, and their guys would just get hot and the game would take off. So you're never safe. You definitely have to play a full 60 minutes, and that's not even talking about Battleford's back end. They have 4 defensemen with, I think, over 30 points. And, deadline acquisition, Alex Isaac, who, if he would have played the full season, he would have had over 30 points too. So when you have 5 defensemen back there with 30 points or more, that's a very dangerous group. And, it shows why they have the most goals in the league by, I think 50, I think.
Harzy, thanks for doing this. I know you're a nice guy, but I don't want you to be nice right now, okay? I want you to let us in on some of your locker room secrets. In I think it was the 2019-20 season, the COVID-shortened season, the Balfour North Stars were, 26-3 or something at one point. And those 3 losses were coached by who, Matty? And how did you get that job done? How do you beat Braden Klamosko? Tell us.
I think my strategy's out the window this year. So,
but you showed it that year.
Well, yeah, we had lots of talent too. We had Chance Patrick that year, Taphorns, guys like that. So, we just tried to kind of play the trap against them and wait for our opportunities. We knew we kind of had those big guns, so when we did get offensive chances, there's a good chance they're going in the back of the net. So. Braden's always had very good D and likes to get them active. So we've always just tried to limit their offense from the D side as much as possible and just try to play 3-on-3 down low.
So Matt, I'll ask you on the flip side of this. You have a Weyburn Red Wings team as the 8th seed coming in. They're the underdog against the Balfour North Stars, but a team that's definitely hit a different stride halfway through the season. They kind of obviously they made some big additions, kind of reshaped their lineup. From you as the head coach of the Yorkton Terriers, seeing them at the beginning of the season to then seeing them later on in the season, what was the biggest difference between their hockey club?
I think, they added some pieces and they got a lot faster. They obviously got way more skill up front. I think that Riley Morgan trade was huge for them. And then Ty Mason, I believe he played in the league last year, and he's only in 05 this year, and he finishes with just under 60 points, and he's really finding his game at the right time too. And those two, you give them any time and space, and they can make you pay. So Cody's done a really good job with Weyburn throughout the season, and has made him just gotten them better and better throughout the season. So and their group too, they have 4 guys with 22 goals or more too up front. So they have guys that can put the puck in the net, and I think it's a lot more closer than people think it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got to ask you too. This is a very serious question, Hairsy. Very serious. I'm a very serious guy, as you all know. Last time the Weyburn Red Wings won a game in the best of 7 series, and I'm not trying to hammer that organization, but it was 2016 when they beat the Flin Flon Bombers in a game, and Mike Esker touched the moose leg, and everybody went ballistic, and that sort of fed into the story a little bit in the finals last year. But other than don't touch any of the other teams' favorite paraphernalia, what advice do you give Cody Mapes if he calls you up and says, hey, what do I do to try to settle them down? Sort of especially, focusing on the personnel, sort of tactically, what suggestion, what advice would you give the Weyburn Red Wings to keep this series close?
Yeah, I would say you want to play on the line. You don't want to go over the line. Obviously, Battleford has a great power play, but Weyburn plays that physical game, and if they can keep it kind of right on the line and try to intimidate Battleford a little bit and kind of get them into penalty trouble, I think that's when they can take advantage, because they do have a good power play when it gets clicking. And I think Weyburn's strategy has to be, they just have to focus and hopefully get a split on the road. And they've been playing good in their barn this year, so if they can get a split on the road, that's definitely key. Yeah, absolutely. To your point, Battleford's in games against Weyburn this year, Battleford's at 38% on the power play. It's not a chirp at Weyburn. It's probably pretty much everybody in the league. So, I don't know how much more we can kind of talk about how explosive this Battleford's team is, but we got to talk about that top line. Holden Dole, Jake Southgate, Kean Bell. Hairsy, I got to ask you, in terms of a unit, the way they play together, the chemistry, as well as the individual talent, where does that line kind of rank? Over your number of years in this league, in terms of hard to stop? Yeah, I mean, we just gave up 5 goals to Kean Bell last time we played them, so I'd say probably number one. They're so talented. They have the speed, but they also play on the edge. They're not a line that just goes and cheats for offense and doesn't play defense and floats around. They're in your face. They battle hard, and obviously Holden Dole, he works extremely hard, and he can score goals on his own, but you get that puck to Kean Bell, and it's likely to go back in the back of the net.
Matt, I want to ask you this. We've touched on, now that this is the 3rd series we've talked about the importance of home ice, and the one thing with the Battleford North Stars this year at the Access Communications Center in Battleford is they've only lost 1 game in regulation this season at the rink, and it just happened 2 weeks left in the regular season. What makes that rink so difficult to play in? Yeah, I think they just start out games so well, and for whatever reason, they play a full 60 minutes no matter what. They usually get, every time we've been there this year, they get great crowds, and I'm sure it's going to be sold out in playoffs for them. They always get great community support, and it's just intimidating rink to go in and try to play. And I say this a lot, that SJHL, I feel like the teams all have home ice advantage in their own kind of different ways, probably more so than other leagues, and it makes this league a lot more special, I think. And especially when teams can take advantage of that. And like you said, Battleford's only losing 1 time in regulation at home. That's such a great accomplishment for them, and they should be using with confidence heading into games 1 and 2. Yeah, I don't think confidence at all a problem for the likes of Kean Bell and those guys. And fair enough. And you mentioned their starts, right? They're 35-0 when they score the first goal. They're 33-0 when they lead after 1. But they scored 117 goals in the 3rd period. The next closest team in the 3rd period scored 70. Any idea who that team was that scored 70 in the 3rd period? Can I say? Is it the Weyburn Red Wings?
No. No.
I was hoping that's where you're going.
Do you have a guess?
I was hoping that's where he was going with it.
Little guessing game. Do you have a guess? It's the Notre
I'd
Dame
say
Hounds.
Humboldt, maybe?
It's the Notre Dame
Oh.
Hounds. 70
Always
goals
comes
in
back
third
to the
period.
Hounds.
No, it doesn't always, but this case it does. And Battlefords were 15-1 against the Viterra division this year. The one loss, their first loss of the year, was in Affinity Place when the Bears, or the Bruins, laid a whooping on them. But again, so they're good in the first, they're good in the second, they're good in the third, but 0-0 now. Everybody's record is 0-0. And my last point I want to make is this is the first time in a very long time that the Battlefords North Stars have had anything legitimate to play for, because they've had kind of first place overall sewn up for a while. So all of a sudden there's pressure. All of a sudden maybe Weyburn gets 1 or 2 goals. How do you handle that situation when there's a real game on the line now? It's kind of been sort of preseason ramping up for Battlefords for a long time. They've played great. Performances haven't looked that way at all, but that's been the reality. Now it's time 0-0. Anything can happen.
Matt, I'm not going to put you in a tough spot and make a prediction for the series or for the series we're talking about, but quickly I'll let Nugsy make his prediction for the series.
Battlefords in 5, just because I think Weyburn's home ice advantage has been so great. Great fans. I think Weyburn nabs one, but I just think this Battlefords team is just too good. It's too good.
Well, regardless, the series begins tomorrow night at the Access Communications Center in North Battleford as the North Stars host the Weyburn Red Wings. Puck drop 7:30. Games 1 and 2 in Battlefords, and then the series shifts to Weyburn, and Nugsy just touched on it. Weyburn's been very good at home as they play games 3 and 4 Tuesday and Wednesday at Crescent Point Place. And finally, the last series to talk about on the SJHL Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL. And I think this is the series that has the most storylines, at least when it comes to us in the media to talk about. And obviously that's the 3-seed Flin Flon Bombers against the 6-seed Estevan Bruins. And Matt, this is a matchup, obviously, of last year's final. Flin Flon being one of the top teams in the league, Estevan being in the Viterra division with the Yorkton Terriers. An interesting matchup between these two teams who, of course, like I said, met in last year's final. But I'll ask you this because you've played both of these teams 6 times, I do believe, this season. Let's start with Flin Flon and what makes them so difficult to play against.
Yeah, no, we had the pleasure, of playing Battlefords and Flin Flon both 6 times this year, so that was a treat. And we
especially travel wise, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Flin Flon's so dangerous on special teams. I'm not sure. I know the injury bugs kind of hit them a little bit, but we played them towards the end of the year when they had a handful of guys out, and they had lots of guys step up. And they're a big team that I think if you get into penalty trouble against them, they're going to make you pay every time. And again, we talk about home ice. Home ice is absolutely huge in Flin Flon. It doesn't really matter what their lineup looks like. It's such an intimidating place to go up there. And, at least Estevan's going up a day early to kind of get the bus legs out. But I know that first Friday night, when you go up there, it's definitely hard to get a win. So they take full advantage of their home ice. And, like I said, they have lots of talent up front. And, Reese Richmond on the back end, he's, been a great player for them. I think he's put up 48 or 50 points this season. And, they have lots of young guys stepping up like Alexei Silvestri as well.
Yeah, Matt, I'll ask you this, though. You mentioned how difficult of a place it is to win at the Whitney Forum, but you and the Yorkton Terriers were one of the teams to beat the Flin Flon Bombers at the Whitney Forum this season. How did you do it?
Good goaltending. We kind of got it given to us the night before, and we just went over video, and our PK was a lot better that night. We it was a focus stay out of the penalty box because we got in penalty trouble against them the first night, and that second night I think we only took maybe 4 penalties, and we played lots 5-on-5, and we scored a late goal against them with 3 minutes left, I believe, or 2 minutes left, but it was a tight game. It was back and forth, and I think that's the way you got to play, especially on the road and in playoffs, is just kind of defense first and try to weather the storm and make it, a 0-0, 1-0 game after the first period and give your group kind of time to settle in. And then you always have a chance if, you can stay on the box against fun.
Yeah, great points. I always talk about it, right? Goaltending and special teams; those are the two boxes that you have to check. And the finals last year, just for reference, in Estevan, they had great home ice advantage too. In this series between these two teams, Estevan outscored Flin Flon 11-4. But up in Flin Flon outscored Estevan 17-5. So it wasn't kind of really that close in either barn, which is interesting. Affinity Place, certainly not an easy place to go, even though it's beautiful, and we kind of all enjoy going there because it's a nice place to be. But the Bruins certainly play really well there. I got to ask you, about facing Jason Tatarnic, so much this year. I know, last year he was a talented, glittery team full of superstars. And they ran over a lot of teams onto the first seed, and they were, kind of the Harlem Globetrotters in some ways. This year it's been a little bit different, right? It's been, a gritty team, a bigger team. I guess just talk to us about, what you've seen from how Jason Tatarnic has kind of had to adjust the way he's coached this year.
Yeah, we played them in playoffs last year in the second round, and they were loaded with talent, and you gave them any time and space, and they're going to make it pay. And this year, yeah, it's a little different. They still have that talent with Kate Runke and Cody Davis, and getting Keegan Little back. I think that was huge for them. And I think Fanger up front. He's that big body that he's dangerous in front of the net, and he's got a great shot. But like you said, they've kind of adjusted from very, very fast and skilled, and they're kind of that big playoff mean type team this year. And they have Babbitt on the back end too that produced lots of points for them. But I think if any goalie gets hot in this series, they have obviously Cam Herdlicka in net that can be a game changer. So they both teams kind of play similar to how they played last year, just vice versa. I think Estevan probably plays a little similar how Flin Flon played last year, and Flin Flon plays a little similar how Estevan did last year. So I think health is definitely going to be important in this series.
Well, you touched on health. Like, that's a great point, Hersey. Like, again, don't have the actual information. We don't have the lineups. For game one, so we don't know who's going to be in, who's going to be out. Both teams have dealt with a lot of injuries. Jeromy, Hersey lately, like Flin Flon's missed 5 of their top 6 forwards. For a consistent period of time the last month or so. You think about Cole Dupereau, who just got his commitment, by the way. Congratulations to Lindenwood. And Mercier hasn't been there. And you talk about the power play. He's a big reason why their power play is almost unstoppable when he's out there. And you go down the list after those guys. Like, it's not fun to play against, but those guys stepped up. But you need those big boys in the lineup. And then the other point that I like that you talked about there, Hersey, was the goaltending matchup. And I think, two guys in this league that are just, I don't know, for some reason, and I don't know what you think, Hersey, and I don't think what you don't think you too, Jeromy, like, for some reason, some people love Cam Herdlicka and Estevan and Harman Laserhume and Flin Flon, and some people don't. Like, I don't understand it. They're like 1 and 2 in the league in shutouts this year. They're 1 and 2 in the league in minutes played. They both have been great. They're both 19. They're not 20. What gives? Like, where does it come from? What do you make of the goaltending battle here in this series, Hersey?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they're probably the 2 most underrated goalies in the league for whatever. I've kind of heard the same comments where it's either love or hate them. And, I think those are 2 of the top probably 4 goalies in the league. So, I think this series can, if it's played 5-on-5, it's going to be a goaltending battle. And I think it's going to be kind of who breaks first. And, I think too, with if Flin Flon can get healthy, that'll definitely help. But in the meantime, they have that big Ethan Mercer that they acquired, 6'3" power forward, that's going to help up and step up. And, we know that one of the biggest stories will be, Alex von Sprecken playing against his former team. So that's also going to be a fun little battle to watch.
There's another storyline we didn't even touch on.
There's so many.
There is so many with this match. And just to build off your point, Hersey, about you saying that these 2 goalies might be the top two of the top four in the SJHL this season. Well, they both were at the SJHL MJHL showcase, and that's a big reason to show that they are two of the top goaltenders in the league. My final question for you, Herzy, is obviously it's a rematch of last year's final between these two teams. It was a big talking point last year, as obviously they're also the two furthest teams away in the SJHL. So I want to ask you, as a coach and as somebody who rides the bus consistently, is the travel a big factor in this series when it comes to both of these teams?
Yeah, I think as the series goes on, I just know from experience, we played Battlefords in playoffs, we played Larange in playoffs, and, as the series kind of goes on, the traveling does wear on a guy. You're on the bus for 6-7 hours, and, it's after you go to war for 2 straight games and in a barn, and, you hop on the bus, ride the bus for 7-8 hours, get in the hotel room, and you're kind of right back to putting the body on the line. So it definitely does get a little tiring doing that, but I think it's going to be, whoever can kind of dial it in and, kind of use that as motivation and no really excuses made. And, both teams have to travel the same distance. So it does get tiring. Obviously we played Melfort last year, so that was a much better traveling schedule for us. But I do know those long bus trips, they definitely can wear a team down quickly.
For sure. And regardless, you alluded to it, Estevan's on the bus, I think right now, heading up to Flin Flon. Of course, this series begins tomorrow night at the Whitney Forum. It's the schedule bug here says 7:30. It's 6:30 in Saskatchewan because of good old daylight savings time. That switched over. So those games are actually at 6:30 Saskatchewan time if you are watching it here in Saskatchewan. And then the series shifts to Estevan for Tuesday and Wednesday. Matt, we want to say a big thank you for hopping on the program today. We really appreciate getting your insight. I know you've played all 4 of these teams 6 times this season. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time. And I know it's tricky to come on to the playoff preview show when your team's not in the postseason. So we really do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
No, thanks for having me. I'm glad you guys didn't make me make any predictions, because I coach against these guys next year. So
exactly, that's why we're just thankful enough that you were able to come on the show. Thanks so much, Herzy. We really appreciate it.
Thank you to you guys and Neugsy, and I know Rory was on before, and Clark producing it. You guys do such a great job for our league. So thank you guys, and keep it going.
Thank you so much, Matt. We really appreciate it. That is the head coach and general manager of the Yorkton Terriers, Matt Hare. We asked him to come on the show. We weren't sure how he was going to respond, and he came on. He did such a good job. He might have a future in broadcasting after coaching. A couple of things I want to get to, though, with you, Neugsy, before we go to commercial break. And I guess first and foremost, just I guess in this series, and also let's go back to the Battleford and Weyburn series. Who are your X factors for those 2 series?
Yeah, so for this one, for me, for the Estevan Bruins, and he's kind of been out lately, but I understand he's going to be back, and he's such a big element, a big straw that stirs the drink for Estevan. It's Mitch Koner. He plays the right way. He's so hard to play against. He's so fast. He's so physical. He's experienced. It's his last kick at the can. He's an 02. Has that finals experience, and I know the Estevan community means so much to him. So for me, it's Mitch Koner. He can really get in the head of the Flin Flon Bombers and get off. There's few guys in this league that are as good at getting the other team off their game. So I'm going to go with Mitch Koner. And, again, I don't know how healthy people are in Flin Flon. So the guy that I'll point to, and Herzy mentioned him, Ethan Mercer, he does have Centennial Cup experience with Brooks from the AJ last year. He's 6'3", 200 pounds he's just a monster out there. So, he can kind of protect the puck. He's gritty too. And he stepped up big, when they needed him too. So, you're going to have to spend all that energy on the Zach Canes and the Jacob Vocklers and the Jaden Mercies of the world if they're back and healthy. Ethan Mercer is one of those guys that can step up big because he has that experience.
He sure does. Do you want to quickly mention your X factors for both Battleford and Weyburn?
Sure, yeah. So, other than staying out of the box for Weyburn, if you're they're a rough and rowdy on the edge type of team as it is. They take a lot of penalties, but they're going to have to figure it out here in the playoffs if they're going to survive. But, my X factor for them has been Mateo Turin. He's a big boy, 6'5". He can really skate again. I like big guys in the playoffs. I'm sorry to the smaller guys. Certainly can make an impact, do what you want. But when the chips are down and it's a trench fight, often you do want some guy who's huge. And Mateo Turin is huge, and he doesn't mind a hit, and he can skate. And so, he hasn't been that consistent productively for Weyburn this year. But again, Battleford is going to do everything they can to shut down Mason, Hassman, and Morgan. So Mateo Turin is going to have to show up in a big way for Weyburn to survive. And then I like Colby Bear for Battleford's. Again, he mixes it up. He's physical. He goes to the blue paint. He does all those little things. This way, Battleford's team is very, very skilled. They can keep the puck all night. At some night, there's going to be a war where it's going to be a low-scoring game, and it's going to be gritty and ugly, and it's going to be guys getting a little bit rattled. Colby Bear's the guy you want on your side. He's huge, and he's tough, and he's physical, and Battleford needs that at some point this playoffs. So I'm going to go with Colby Bear.
Finally, predictions for Flin Flon and Estevan.
You make me, eh? Man, oh man. You know what?
You could say the winner's the fans. That's
the
always a good
winner is
option.
The fans.
That's always a good option.
You know what? Again, to me, this is just as much of a flip coin as Melfort and Larange. So you have to. This time, I'm going to take a home team in Game 7. The Flin Flon Bombers, just like in the finals, Estevan was at home in Game 7 in that series. I'm going to take Flin Flon at home in Game 7 this series.
There you have it. All right, we are going to head to a commercial break, but coming up after the break on the SJHL Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL, we are going to be joined by the president and CEO of Canterra Seeds, David Hansen, and we get to reveal the Canterra Seeds Cup, which the 8 teams will be competing for in the 2023 playoffs presented by UPL. This is the 2023 SJHL Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL across the SJHL social media platforms.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers. And that's a big reason why we exist and, what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things and leading the right way. Being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA, and respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way, and those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Have a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Give me more.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
top of the hill.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca. Welcome back to the SJHL Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL, and we're now pleased to be joined by the President and CEO of Canterra Seeds, David Hansen. David, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and I see you brought the trophy.
I brought the trophy. It's been a long time in the making. I'm pretty damn excited to be able to get it over here.
For sure. I'll get you to bring in your microphone a little closer just so the fans at home get to hear your voice. When it comes to this beautiful trophy that you guys put together for the Canterra Seeds Cup and for the SJHL, maybe just tell us a little bit, I guess, the background of putting the trophy together.
Well, it's been a bit of a journey, if you want to put it into that perspective, because we really have to go back to the very beginnings of when this partnership was coming together.
Right.
So our marketing agency, Sucker Punch, had a good conversation with the SJHL. They presented an opportunity of helping bring two parties together, Canterra Seeds and the SJHL. And with that beginnings, we started into these conversations, and to where we are today is, we're able to put something new together, something unique for Canterra Seeds, and I think probably to some respect it's unique for SJHL. But I mean, it was a partnership that was not on my radar 12, 18 months ago.
Right.
And it's evolved very quickly and for all the right reasons. And the cup that is here today is really, it's the culmination of all the work that's gone into the discussions and conversations and putting this partnership together. So the cup was designed, with the help of many people. Again, Sucker Punch was very actively engaged in this project, and with their help and with the group that we had this manufactured with in Vancouver, and with my marketing team, what we see is what we have. And yesterday was the first time I saw it, touched it, looked at it in completion, and I couldn't be happier.
I must say, you guys did an unbelievable job. It is beautiful. The detail on it is it's perfect. It's beautiful. It's an unbelievable job. You touched on the partnership. Obviously, this is a very new partnership between the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League and Canterra Seeds, but let's talk a little bit about it. We're about not even a year really into the partnership, but how have you enjoyed this partnership between Canterra Seeds and the SJHL, and how it's gone so far?
Well, first off, partnerships are about people, and when you get like-minded people and you have similar visions and things that you believe in, these partnerships have a way of coming together very quickly. But I think I'd back up just a little bit and we start talking about what was the motivation. So we're a smaller, medium-sized regional seed organization, seed distribution company based out of Winnipeg. But the foundings of our organization were by farmers in Western Canada. And of course, we can look at Saskatchewan as being the heart of the agricultural area in Western Canada, of course. I mean, it's got the most acres, it's got the most production, and so on and so forth. And so from our business perspective, we are very focused on Saskatchewan. So I think that's first and foremost. If we look at Saskatchewan, I mean, if you say agriculture and hockey, it pretty well sums it up.
100%.
Now, that doesn't take away from the gas and oil industry and potash and other major drivers that keep this economy alive and well. But when we look at the SJHL, we look at where your 11 teams are, or where the 11 teams are situated in rural Saskatchewan. It speaks well to the markets that we're active in. And when I look at the players, you look at those young boys that are on the ice. I mean, I know that they're from a widespread geography, but the heart and soul of it really is the prairie provinces. And a lot of those young men are also coming from ag backgrounds. If you look at the people in the stands, the ones that are watching are the same people that I'm talking to, and we are as a business on a daily basis. They're our customers, they're our friends, they're our retailers, they're customers. And so, we just see that it's just a natural linking of our business with the SJHL.
You know what? I think you hit the nail on the head, because prime example, personally, I have an uncle who's a farmer here in Saskatchewan, and he's also a season ticket holder for one of the teams. So you hit the nail right on the head. This, of course, is the first year of this partnership between Canterra Seeds and the SJHL. How do you envision, from the Canterra Seeds perspective, this partnership growing moving forward?
I think we're just scratching the surface. This is not a 3-year program. This is multi-year. We're chatting yesterday. It's going to be neat when we can say this cup's 100 years old.
Yeah.
Obviously I won't be around, but this is a long-term plan. This has got nothing to do with just we want to be here for a couple of years and we're going to do something else. I think that based on the visions that we're sharing with each other from as partners, this has some life, and it'll have some staying power. And we're going to continue to support the SJHL for multiple reasons. Again, I'll get back. I mean, the word partnership just kind of helps create the platform. But, when we look at those young guys on the ice, right? These 15, 16-year-olds, 17s, they're the future leaders. They really are.
100%.
And if we look at sports and we look at hockey, and what is that creating, right? I mean, there's a number of them that are going to move on to the big show, as it referred to. But the reality of it is that many of these young men are going to end up in businesses. They're the new entrepreneurs. They're going to be the new leaders. And when we watch these guys play hockey, I mean, it's not just us watching them. It's the 4 and 5-year-olds that are watching them. It's giving them something to strive for. Because they all want to be bigger and be more important in their young lives. But when I look at these young guys on the ice, I mean, whether they're coming from the farm or they're related to somebody on the farm, or they're just happen to be fortunate to be playing in Kindersley or Nipawin or Humboldt. I mean, they're certainly going to be engaged in a part of the business that we're in. But these guys are learning what hard work's all about.
100%.
They're learning what leadership is about, showing up, being part of a team, and learning what respect is too, right? I mean, so you put all those factors together, and that tells me our leaders are in there, right?
For sure. So
as an organization, I mean, we're really tied up in 4-H Canada.
Right.
And that's a very important organization for similar reasons, right? And so Canterra has really reached out into the community and by introducing some new programs and strategies, but really it's all about giving back to the communities, and this is part of it. This is a way for us to connect with our customers on a level that we're really comfortable with, and we're thinking, I think this works for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely a partnership that I think it's two organizations with similar mindsets, similar goals, and obviously similar parties that you're reaching out to and covering in abroad, obviously across the prairies, which is exciting. And it's also really exciting because not only are you here for the trophy presentation and for the trophy unveiling here on the SJHL Playoff Preview Show, but you're going to get to tune in and watch some hockey this weekend live. How excited are you for that?
I'm really, really excited. It's been a great winter. Living in Winnipeg, we're fortunate. We've got 5 little grandkids that are very, very active in the sport, and so we spend a lot of days in the arena. We do have a team. We used to have a team called the Winnipeg Jets, and struggling as they are. But I also had the opportunity to enjoy the tournament where the SJHL and the Manitoba Junior Hockey League basically matched up, and that was some phenomenal hockey. And now we get into the playoffs, and we get out here in Saskatchewan and watching this caliber of hockey. it's hard to beat. It really, really is. I mean, it's intense. You know, those kids come out. I mean, they're playing 61 minutes of hockey. They're not there to play 60 or 20, and like where some of the big boys. Right? I mean, they come to play each and every night, and I don't know how they keep it up. I really don't. I'm duly impressed, but you know, the skills, the talents, the passion. I think that's probably another word that probably doesn't get used enough when you start describing these kids playing hockey. But it's all in, and how can you not want to be part of it? For sure. And when you're competing for a trophy that's nice, I mean, that just adds to it at the end of the day. Hey, you know, it's when we were designing the cup, you know, it's one thing I says, you know, I don't want to see these young men who have just, you know, risked their life and limb to get to that point to be holding up some 8-inch little trophy. I said, you know, one thing, I mean, big is important here, and I wanted to give it the significance, or you know, suggest that we have something that was sizable and something you could put in your hand. And you know, we've got to have lots of room for those little markers on the side there that are going to add up over the years. And maybe like the Stanley Cup, we'll put another block, just another layer, block in there, you know, in the next 20 years or something like that. Yeah, well, we'll see how it grows for sure. And now the 8 teams know what they are competing for. David, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for unveiling and bringing the trophy. This is it. We're really excited about it. And congratulations just on this partnership as a whole between Canterra Seeds and the SJHL. Well, my hat's off to Kyle and the team. You know, working with Kyle, you know, he's somebody new in my life in terms of getting to meet him and we be working with him. But you know, a man with his passion, his vision, you know, his strength in governance, his leadership. This league is going to do very, very well under his guidance. And again, it's another plus being able to work with people like Kyle and his team. There's no losses here. This is all wins. So we're excited about it. For sure. I mean, under great guidance from Commissioner Kyle McIntyre and great partners, obviously, with Canterra Seeds, the league is going to continue to grow. Thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Good. Thank you very much for the opportunity. That is the president and CEO of Canterra Seeds, David Hansen. After the break, Neugsy will be back, and we'll put our bow on the SJHL playoff preview show as we get you ready for the 2023 SJHL playoffs, which begins tomorrow night. This is the 2023 SJHL playoff preview show across the SJHL social media platforms.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Get me more.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Hey boys, we got a new guy coming out for practice today. This is Colin. Please give him a warm welcome.
Hey guys.
Hey Colin. There's your gear. Get all suited up for practice and we'll get ready to go.
Does this go in or out?
It goes in, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the front.
Yeah, there you go.
This feels a little bit small.
It's a player chest protector.
This is a player chest protector. So clearly it's important that I got the right equipment on to do this particular job.
Yeah, no doubt. Otherwise, bad things can happen. You can get hurt.
Well, you guys are going to show me how to do this right?
Of course.
Hey, is that natural?
There you go, yeah. Looks good.
We're all stretched out. This is a lot like mentally preparing at the workplace and being physically ready.
New guy, you're in.
Keep your stick down, Colin.
Yeah, keep that down and deflect them away.
Good job, Colin.
Training like this, just when you start off, is super difficult, but if you keep on it, it gets easier and you get better.
The right training, the right advice, the right support, get the right equipment, your career is going to be a whole lot longer, whether it be here or on the construction site.
Welcome back to the SJHL Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL. Great chat with President and CEO of Canterra Seeds, David Hansen. Noogsy's back to put a bow on the Playoff Preview Show. And Noogsy, I got to get your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the beautiful Canterra Seeds Cup?
Yeah, first class. If you're going to be a first class league, you need a first class trophy.
I'd agree with
Bottom line has a nice logo on it there. I don't know if you can. I guess you can see it there on the screen. And boy, oh boy, I just keep thinking what the first cereal I would eat out of that bowl is. What do you think, Jeromy? What's your first cereal that you would eat out of that cup?
Frosted Flakes.
Okay, good choice.
Frosted Flakes.
That didn't give me enough time to think. Cinnamon Toast
Producer
Crunch.
Clark says Cinnamon Toast
Great
Crunch.
choice. I'm limited by my gluten-free situation.
Oh, that narrows it down.
So I really just kind of eat granola. So I'll eat a lot of granola.
That's disappointing. I thought you were going to say something.
Chex.
A little bit more. Okay. Interesting. All right. That's been cereal talk on the 2023 Playoff Preview Show presented by UPL.
We're having fun. Folks.
We are having fun. Obviously, it's a fun time of the year.
Yeah.
The playoffs begin tomorrow. I mean, I've been excited all week for it. It's going to be a great month and a half of postseason hockey in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. But we have a lot to still get into when it comes to our last block, and it's a couple of fan votes that we need to get into, and one of them being, Newsy, the Tourism Saskatchewan Highlight of the Year. We, throughout the year, on SJHL Weekly, each and every week, we picked a winner each week of the Tourism Saskatchewan Highlight of the Week. And after the whole regular season, we got the final nominees, the finalists. They were put on SJHL.ca, and you voted, yes, you voted, for the winner, which is Logan Linklater of the Kindersley Clippers. Have a look.
All right, so now down in Linklater, wide open, and he's the leg, and he scores!
And a big shout out to Connor Tate for shooting that and getting that on camera, because that wasn't obviously the hockey TV feed. That was his excellent shooting. So shout out to Connor. Thank you so much for the footage of that. Logan Linklater with the highlight, Tourism Saskatchewan Highlight of the Year. And I don't want to bring it up, Nukes. I hate to say it, but it happened. Oh. You were in the building for it. What did you make of it when you saw it live?
Yeah, you know what? Like, it really didn't surprise me that much, because Logan, first of all, he's such a skilled kid, and if he's back for Kindersley next year, look out. He's going to have a great year.
Yeah, 100%.
He has fun. He tries things. He's creative. It was a creative goal between the legs. You know, from a Notre Dame perspective, Vinny Palmerine having a little nap in the corner probably made the goal a little easier for Logan there. But, again, he tries things. He's what hockey should be, I think, in a lot of ways. Logan just has fun with the game and just plays like a kid should play. And Logan showed it. That's what kids do on the ODRs and their practice rinks, and when they're playing shinny, they try moves like that. And Logan did that, and that's what we love about hockey sometimes is a beautiful goal like that. So good for Logan. And I know him a little bit. I've had a lot of chats with him. I think he's a super duper super kid, and I'm really happy to see him win this fan vote.
And the full results from the Tourism Saskatchewan Highlight of the Year vote can now be found on SJHL.ca, where Logan Linklater had 40% of the vote when it comes to the Highlight of the Year. Now, that vote ended last night at midnight. But a new vote is now underway, Nugsy, and that is for the RBC Community Ambassador. The finalists have officially been announced. Tylen Hilbig of the Kindersley Clippers, Ethan Zilke of the Humboldt Broncos, Clay Sleva of the Yorkton Terriers, Jake Southgate of the Battleford's North Stars, and Jared Sitch of the Notre Dame Hounds. So 5 finalists for the RBC Community Ambassador. Voting is underway. Now, this vote's going to be a little bit longer than the Tourism Saskatchewan. The Tourism Saskatchewan Highlight of the Year was only a couple of days. You have 3 weeks to cast your vote for the RBC Community Ambassador. And good news, Newsy, you can vote once a day.
Yeah, get out
and vote. And the winner of the RBC Community Ambassador will be announced during the 2023 SJHL Finals. So head to SJHL.ca and you can vote for the RBC Community Ambassador. Nugsy, I mean, we've spent the last hour previewing the playoff series. What are you most looking forward to? I know that's a very generic statement. There's a lot to look forward to, I think, in these 4 series. But if you could nail it down to one thing, what is the thing that's driving you nuts that you're just like, I can't wait for it. I can't wait till tomorrow.
You know what? I like to think I'm a friendly guy. Someone could argue otherwise if you want. I think I am. But this is going to be unfriendly stuff.
I knew it.
Oh, Maddie, that's very kind. Voted for me broadcast of the year. I got to stop the broadcast. Thank you, Maddie. No, but
shout out to
Maddie Barrett, the voice of the Melfort Mustangs. What a kind thing to say. Appreciate it. Yeah, there's going to be mean. There's going to be storylines coming out. There's going to be things like the Moose Leg in the final last year, where people had to write articles and it drew back on history, and that has a lot to do with the parity, because I don't think there'll be that many rollovers. There won't be easy nights for anybody. Doesn't matter 1 to 8, like it's going to be mean, and there's going to be some rough stuff. So the referee supervisors, I think, might have to pay some close attention, just being honest. But there's a lot of hate-ons going to happen here, and I think I'm here for it, and that's the energy that people want to see in the playoffs. I wrote about it in my column, Jeremy. The best playoff series, I think about like Colorado, Detroit, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, how much they hated each other. And just throughout the years, like Leafs and Kings, like in '93, just like you go through the list, those are the best playoff series, and I think this playoff's going to be full of them.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
How many Game 7s in the first round? Putting you on the spot.
2.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say which 2, but you can say 2. Regardless, it is going to be an unreal 6 weeks of the 2023 SJHL playoffs presented by UPL. We have to give a big shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsors have been there all season long, but most importantly, we also have to give a big shout out to our sponsors for this show alone, because this is a special edition show. This is a one-off. So we have to give, first off, big shout out to UPL, who is not only the presenting sponsor for the SJHL preview show, playoff preview show, but it's also the presenting sponsor for the 2023 SJHL playoffs. So big shout out to UPL. We also have to give a big shout out to our friends at Canterra Seeds. First off, we have the trophy here. Unreal.
First class
to bring the trophy here. David was an outstanding interview on the show, but big shout out to Canterra Seeds for everything they've done for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and that partnership is just going to continue to grow and grow. Also have to give a big shout out to Sask Milk, Chevrolet, Viterra, and Federated Co-op for all the support on the SJHL playoff preview show, because without their support, the playoff preview show would not be possible. And of course, give a big shout out to all of our sponsors this year, because I mean, we've done 2 shows a week since mid-September. And they're going to keep going until the playoffs end. Can't wait.
As I said, Jeromy, Rory, you and me, and everybody who's commenting out there, we're gonna have so much to talk about. We're gonna have so much to talk about. You will not want to miss a show. There's a prediction for you. You out there will not want to miss a show of the SJHL Weekly in these playoffs, because there will be that many storylines and it'll be that much fun of a playoffs. This isn't some other leagues in junior A hockey in Canada, and I mean that with all the respect in the world.
Yep.
Some of the other leagues, there's a first round where it's like la-di-da. I've been part of that in the league that I worked back in Ontario, where it's like, whatever.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's going to be quick. It's going to be a massacre. It's not this league. This league is fun. So,
and that's the one. That's the one thing I've always noticed throughout my travels in my broadcasting career is, you know, I've worked in Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, obviously covering all the different junior A leagues. But there's something special about the SJHL when it comes to the parity in the playoffs, the heated rivalries, and the one thing I've always loved about this league is and I think Matt Hare actually kind of hit the nail on the head with this one, is there's something about each and every rink come playoff time that makes each and every home game very special and makes it an even more difficult facility arena to play in. And I think home ice advantage plays a bigger factor in the SJHL than in some other junior A leagues.
And I also wanted to mention, and that was a great reminder, I wanted to mention when we were previewing some of these series, I'm so happy for the great communities in Weyburn and Nipawin to get playoff hockey back.
100%.
You know, Nipawin didn't have it last year. They finished 11th. You know, Weyburn finished 12th. So we have the 11th and 12th place teams from last year finding a way to get into the playoffs, which I think is really, really great to see. And I just think the SJ is a better league. Like, I love all those centers. I love all the communities. The SJ is a better league when the Nipawin Hawks and that great community and that great rink are in the playoffs. Like that community and that team holds a very special place, I think, in my heart and in this league. And I'm so happy for the Nipawin Hawks fans. I really am.
There's a lot to be excited about for the 2023 SJHL playoffs presented by UPL. Another thing that you should be excited about, Nugsy. Because the regular season's in the books, playoffs are underway, but you know what's one thing that's still continuing?
The Polaris
side-by-side raffle. There it is. The tickets are still on sale right now, Nugsy. SJHLraffle.ca. Tickets are available until April 23rd. And then the draw will be done live on a special edition of SJHL Insiders on Thursday, April 27th. Draw is going to be done live from the Polaris dealership. Going to be very exciting. We are going to give away a brand new Polaris side-by-side tickets. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, 10 for $100. Only 5,000 tickets available. And that's what? That's about 5 weeks. 5.5 weeks. So get your tickets today. SJHLraffle.ca. And you could potentially win a brand new Polaris side-by-side. And hey, you know, maybe, I said this to Clark, maybe you're a fan of a team and they go all the way. They win this beautiful Canterra Seeds Cup. And then maybe the next day, your name gets drawn for the new Polaris side-by-side. And then you can drive the Polaris side-by-side all the way to Portage for the Centennial Cup. I don't think they're road legal. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on side-by-sides.
Grid road.
That's at least what I envisioned. So we'll see. So get your tickets today. SJHLraffle.ca. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, 10 for $100. There is going to be a lot to talk about the next 6 weeks. But the good news is we have you covered across the board. Be sure to follow us across all of our social media platforms. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where you're going to get all the shows, all the interviews, all the features, all the previews, post games. Because thanks to our good friends at Sask Milk, I will be on the road with game day previews and post-game reports from each and every rink. So a lot of miles on the old Jeep there, Nugsy. But lot of great coverage coming out for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League playoffs. And, I mean, we've said it time and time again, Nugsy. I mean, this is going to be one of the better SJHL playoffs in the league's history with these four matchups and the parity in this league.
Yeah, well, again, it speaks to the recruiting job, all the scouting departments, the guys that don't get mentioned, from Wiley Riendo there in Battlefords and the job he does behind the scenes, all the way, all the organizations in this league do such a great job. Coaches do such a great job. Communities do such a great job. Like, it's such a fun league because there just isn't a weak link, and we're going to find that out real soon.
And we're very excited for it. Yeah. The 2023 SJHL playoffs presented by UPL start tomorrow night with all 4 series, game 1 on tap. Be sure to get out to your local rink to catch all the playoff action because it is going to be can't miss hockey. If you can't make it out to your rink, you can watch the games across the board on Hockey TV. Subscriptions are just $29.99 a month. And if you can't make it out to the rink and you can't catch the game on Hockey TV, we got you covered across every social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. We will be back on Monday, not next Monday, just Monday, on SJHL Weekly with myself, Nugsy, Rory. Rory will be back after 2 games and finishing up with the early bird draw for the Humboldt Broncos cash lottery. You can get your tickets for that too. He'll enjoy that plug. But we'll be back on Monday for a regular edition of SJHL Weekly, Nugsy. And I mean, you've said it time and time again. We're going to have lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about. And seriously, folks, get out to the rink because the electricity will not be the same unless you're in the barn. So if you can get out, turn off the TV, turn off your phone, turn off your tablet, whatever it is, and get out to these rinks. Buy yourself a refreshment. And have fun. It's going to be fun. Just have fun. Yeah.
That's the name of the game. Go out to the rink, have fun. The 2023 SJHL playoffs begin tomorrow night. For Jamie Neugebauer, my name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been the 2023 SJHL playoff preview show presented by UPL. Enjoy the games this weekend, everyone.